Hey everybody, this is the fourth video of Chapter 5. We're talking about nervous and muscle tissues in this video. So for a short video, we have lots of things that we're going to be touching on here. First, we're going to explain what an excitable tissue is. Then we're going to talk about the cells that make up nervous tissues and identify the parts of nerve cells. Then we'll look at nervous tissue and be able to recognize it from micrographs. Then we'll talk about the three different types of muscle tissue and be able to recognize those from photographs as well. So first, excitability is the ability to respond to a stimuli. Okay, so a stimuli is any sort of factor that influences a cell or a tissue and causes a change in the membrane potential. So when I say membrane potential, what I mean is an electrical charge, a voltage difference between the outside and the inside of a cell membrane. So when the membrane potential is reached, when that electrical charge happens in a nerve cell, that causes the nerve cell to transmit the signal, whatever it is, onto the next nerve cell. In a muscle tissue, when that voltage is reached, the consequence is the muscle contracts and shortens. So let's talk about nervous tissue first. So nervous tissue is specialized tissue that communicates by electrical and also chemical signals. So nerve cells are called neurons. Their job is to detect a stimuli, to respond quickly to the stimuli, and then to transmit the information to the next cell in the chain. Glial cells or neuroglia help in this process. They are found around the cells, around the neurons. You can see the glial cells here. They are around the neurons and they protect the neurons to some degree and also help in the signal transmission. The neuron has three main parts. First, we have the body of the neuron. We call this the neurosoma. Then we have dendrites, and the dendrites are the receptors of signals. And then we have axons. And the axons transmit the signal to the next cell. Axons can be very, very long. Dendrites are generally shorter and branched. So now we're going to move on to muscle tissues. Muscle tissue is made of long cells that are specialized to contract in response to stimuli. Their general job is to do the physical force of contracting, and this can be in skeletal muscles, doing movements that allow us to walk or write or talk or all the things that we do with our bodies that we choose to do. They also are involved in involuntary forces in our body, such as our heart beating and food moving through our digestive tract. We'll talk about that more in detail in just a minute. Muscle tissue also generates a lot of heat, and we'll be talking about the three types of muscle tissue, skeletal, cardiac, and smooth, in the next few slides. Starting with skeletal muscle tissue, these are the voluntary muscles. Think of your bicep, your tricep, your quad, your hamstring muscles. These skeletal muscles are made of long, thin cells. They're typically attached to a bone and pull or push on the bone in order to create movement. Skeletal muscle cells have multiple nuclei, and those nuclei are usually found very close to the plasma membrane. When we look at skeletal muscle under a microscope, we'll see alternating light and dark bands. We'll see this striped appearance here. Okay, so we got light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. We call that striations, or we can say that skeletal muscle is striated. And like we said before, skeletal muscle is voluntary. Typically, we choose when we want to move skeletal muscles. In contrast, we have cardiac muscles. Cardiac muscles are only found in the heart. Unlike skeletal muscles, cardiac muscles are branched. They're also shorter in length, the fibers are shorter in length than skeletal muscle fibers. Generally, cardiac muscles only have one nucleus, and we have something called intercalated discs that join the cardiac muscle fibers. So here is one of those intercalated discs. So here's one muscle fiber, intercalated disc joining to the next muscle fiber. These are also striated. You can see that striated appearance right through here. We say that cardiac muscles are involuntary. We can't consciously control the exact moment our heart will beat. And we'll wrap up this talk with smooth muscles. Smooth muscles are a little bit different shape. These are fusiform in shape. Remember that fusiform means muscle fibers taper at the end. These cells are shorter than skeletal muscles for sure. They have only one nucleus. Smooth muscles are generally considered involuntary. So your smooth muscles are found especially around your intestines and around blood vessels. And they also make up the walls of hollow organs. So they're involuntary. We can't consciously choose when they're going to move or not. One last thing about smooth muscle, they are not striated. So your skeletal muscle and your cardiac muscle is striated, and smooth muscle is not.